This video will help you review how to simplify polynomials by adding and subtracting like terms. So let's take a look at this polynomial that we have. So each polynomial expression is given to you guys in two sets of parentheses here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight each of the terms. So if we count the number of terms here that I'm highlighting, we have 5 terms. So we want to combine those like terms. But before we do that, let's distribute that negative that's outside the parentheses of the second parentheses, because it changes the sign of everything that's after that minus sign. Since we're multiplying by -1, it just means that it turns everything inside the second parentheses or after that minus sign to the opposite. And we're going to be using two different methods, column method and stacking method. And we'll start with the column one. And it's called like that because that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing columns. We start with our columns. We always start them with the highest exponent. So in this case, as we highlighted here, our highest exponent is 4. And we're just going to go all the way to 0. So if my highest exponent was 10, then my columns would start at 10, and then it would go all the way to 0. So 10, 9, 8, 7, and so on. Lucky for us though, it's only for the highest exponent. And what we want to do is we want to place each of the terms in the column that it belongs to based on the exponent that it has. So I'm circling here the first term, 5n. That one didn't have an exponent, but we know that n had an implied exponent of 1. So that one goes under column 1. So 5n, we're going to put it under the column that's labeled 1. The next term, 4n to the 4th, has an exponent of 4, so it goes under column 4. And we're going to continue to do that with the rest of the terms. So the next term also goes on the column label 4. Don't forget that negative sign though, because it does change your answer when you combine like terms if you don't take your negative with you. 2n also has an exponent of 1, so it goes under column 1. And n to the 3rd power has an exponent of 3, so it goes under column 3. And I just added the 1 before n to the 3rd power just to indicate that we have only one of the n to the 3rd powers, because it might be helpful later on or not. So we're going to add each of the terms in each of the columns. So column 4 has 2 terms. If I add 2 and -8, I get -6. Column 3 only had 1 term, so we're just going to bring down that term with us. And column 1 has 2 terms, so we're going to add those 2 numbers and we get 7n. So the neat thing about columns, the column method, is that your answer is already in standard form because you put them in order from the highest to the lowest exponent. So your answer is what you get after you combine each of the columns. And also, if you have a constant in your problem, it goes under the 0 column. For example, if I had 7 or 10, it would go under column 0. And just a reminder, constants are numbers that don't have a variable next to them. So they go last in our answer. That's why it goes under column 0. Let me just rewrite this here. I like to cross out every term that I use so that I don't use them twice and so that I don't forget to use all the terms that I'm given in my problem. That's why I just erased it again right now. So stacking. I start with the inside of the first parentheses, and then I go to the second parentheses, and then I just line up the like terms. And like terms need to have 2 things in common, like I mentioned. They need to have the same exponent, and they need to have the same variable. So in order for 2 terms to be considered like terms, they need to have those 2 things that are the same. So if I'm looking at -n to the 4th power, that one should go right underneath 2n to the 4th, and I'll fix it right now. 2n goes underneath 5n because they have the same variable and they have the same exponent. Let's erase that one. And the n to the fourth power should go underneath the 2n to the fourth power. And n to the third goes last because there's no other n to the third on top, so it doesn't line up with any of those previously written terms. So again, we add, so I get 7n, 2 plus negative 8, that's negative 6, n to the fourth. But the variable and the exponent, when you're adding or subtracting, they remain the same. The only stacking does look like it's faster and less writing. The only downside to it would be that not your answer is not always in standard form, so you have to make sure that you go back and fix it so that it's in standard form. And that's it. Notice how we got the same exact answer using either of the methods. So you get to choose what method you like most. And